All day.
That's the way to come back. Good job.
It's just letting them know that I'm around. I'm going to be getting them. So. Did you hear what I said right after I shot him? I said, you ain't getting away this time.
That's what it was.
It's going to be a long year. I really hate even to talk about this. Hi folks, welcome to this week's show.
You know, since Mike's accident, he's still in Ohio laying the big bucks down.
I'm still trying to lay the big bucks down. Yeah, you know, when I took up archery, it was just more of a natural way for me to hunt. It was more of a challenge. I used to love slipping up creeks and easing up into stands, but
it's a lot different now.
It's a whole lot
different. We're in a wheelchair. It's harder to sneak in. It's harder to draw your bow because we don't have the core that an able-bodied person has.
Right. There's no rotation. You can't kind of come around here and shot. A lot of my hunting now is on field edges, food plots, stuff like that. I had to change up a little bit.
Right.
You know, it doesn't mean to say you have to shoot a lesser buck.
Right.
It just means you got to do it a little different. One of the biggest obstacles when you become handicapped, when you become chair-bound, is mobility. I was panicking. When I was laying in the hospital, I was thinking, how in the world am I going to be able to get back outdoors?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the biggest hurdles we faced.
I was thinking the same thing.
Wow, it feels good to get back in the stand, or in the blind, I should say. We haven't hunted this for a little while. I had to go back home to England for a couple of weeks, and I got back here and my son shot a nice buck. So Dad's out trying to do the same thing. We've got a food plot we're on right now. This is where putting the effort in during the spring and in the fall to get these food plots in pays great dividends. The tracks in this food plot are unbelievable. They're absolutely hammering this. So we're in the middle of January. So we've only got a couple of weeks left.
Late season hunting is most probably my favorite time. I love the pre-rut. I don't like the rut, but I love late season hunting. Late season hunting for me is, I do a lot of food plots, so that's when they shine. A food plot is a huge asset to you in late season because the deer will just flock to it. You'll see a lot of numbers. You'll tend to see more bucks. They're off of the rut cycles, and they're more into feeding. It's cold, you know, you got snow down. It takes them longer to fill their bellies because they got to dig it out, and you get to see a lot of the deer that might have been during the season a little bit elusive. You know, all of a sudden you might get a nice one show up.
He ain't getting away from me this time. Stay on him.
Yes. That buck is going nowhere.
I got him. Yes.
God, I can't believe that.
That's the buck that I missed.
All day.
That's the way to come back. Good job.
Wow.
He's done. He's done. Did you see him take off?
Oh, you nailed him.
I drilled him. Drilled him.
Did you hear what I said right after I shot him? I said, you ain't getting away this time.
That's what it was, yeah.
You ain't getting away this time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's because you done missed him once, hadn't you?
Well, I wouldn't call it a miss. See, what happened is I'd been on an elk hunt, and I set my pin strong, set 30, 40, and 50 yards. And he came across in front of me. I just pulled back and naturally split, my second and third pin, thinking I'm shooting 35 yards.
Shot
in fact,
right
I was
over.
shooting 45 yards and shot smooth over.
Right over top of him.
Never did find that arrow either. It was gone.
Huntsman's Creed TV is proudly brought to you by the Huntsmans Foundation, inspiring disabled children to enjoy the great outdoors. Action Track Chair, we provide freedom, independence, and mobility. Tops Camo, quiet and durable camo for every situation. Hunter Safety System, Carlson's Choke Tubes, Sword Sights, Tree Limb Quivers, Afflictor Broadheads, and McCabe Outdoor Mobility. This segment of the Huntsman's Creed TV is brought to you by the Huntsman's Foundation, helping to inspire and enable disabled Americans of all ages.
All right, guys, we're gonna go retrieve that deer. We're giving him about a half hour. I always do that just to be on the safe side. It was a double long iron. Pretty sure we got him. Let's go. He was out here. I shot him from right at 30 yards. So I know he actually followed a four-wheeler trail where we went to the other blind. Oh, he's a good deer too. Look at here. Looky, what a buck. Oh, that's a dandy. Look at the mass on him. Good mass, good tine length. Look at that G3. Whew. What a great buck. I missed this buck, guys. I missed him back in November. I kind of had a quest to try to take him to. There was another couple other bucks that we were looking at trying to harvest. Luke got one of them, and I got the other one. That's a great deer. I'm happy with this, boys.
There's certain situations that kind of push you into making a decision.
Yeah.
My neighbor next door, he hadn't tagged out. And normally by, muzzleloading season, he's normally done.
Yeah.
My neighbor's cornfield just got cut. And the deer were coming out of my bedding area, crossing my bean field, picking their way through, and then they ended up over on my neighbor. Well, me and my neighbor are good friends. But when it comes to big deer, all bets are off. I'm gonna kill this deer. I've had history with this deer for 5 years. I am not about to let him wander off onto my neighbor and him whack him with a muzzleloader. So I picked up the smoke pole and I went about the business of taking Muley. He comes out with these does and he's piddling around out in the field and he walks right up to my blind. He ain't 20 yards from my blind. I'm in the blind 100 yards away. So luckily, I had the smoke pole with me, and I dropped the hammer on him.
It's the next day. I decided to leave Muley overnight. I went back and reviewed the footage and I couldn't see exactly where I hit him. I got a bunch of buddies coming and give me a hand. I got a mark around this field and the last lot of blood I saw, but I'm pretty sure we can track him just by his hoof prints, the way he ran across this field.
Got him?
Yeah.
Great stuff. God, I tell you what, man.
Talk about emotional now.
Oh God, I was so anxious. I didn't know how the shot went. I couldn't see nothing.
Oh,
My Lord, what a rat.
Look what an 8-point, boys.
Yep.
That is a pig of a deer. An absolute giant. Look how big his face is. Big old head on him. What a great buck. Buddy, I am truly blessed to get him. You talk about anxious night. Look what a deer. Look what a deer. What an absolute brute of a deer. Big grey face on him, look. It don't get no better than that, boys. What'd I tell you? Real horsepower, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Good girl. Whoa, Betty, whoa, yeah. Don't forget, guys, follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Now, this is real horsepower.
Come on, baby, let's go.
This segment of the Huntsman's Creed TV is brought to you by Tops Camo. Stay warm, stay dry, succeed.
What about that big old deer that you call next year? Well, I mean,
Oh, God. Let me tell you something. You don't ever want to call a deer next year. It is the worst thing I ever did. Story on him, huh?
yeah.
You know, I really didn't notice him till he was 3. And to be honest, I took a shot on him and missed him.
Yeah, we
I
seen
know,
that.
I know.
Yeah.
You want me to elaborate on the miss? It's just letting them know that I'm around. I'm going to be getting them.
I got their number. I'm just trying to dial it in, get it down there, and
Let 'em know
when we kill
if
something.
they want to leave, they better get it done.
Giving them a fair warning shot.
He came in, and I reached down because I have it around my neck. I didn't have my range.
Wasn't there.
I'm like, all right. So I looked at him. I figured he was most probably pushing 40 yards. I held low with that 40-yard pin.
And
You
just
know where I hit?
shot right in under him.
I got the footage back and I was looking at it and I went, oh my God, look how small the body is on this deer.
He's just a 3-year-old.
And I pegged him for a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said, from here on out, I'm going to hunt him next year.
Yeah.
That's where his name came from.
Yeah.
We decided to call him next year, which is bar none the biggest mistake I've most probably made in my hunting career, because next year never really comes around. I had an 8-point that I called Slick, and this dude was nothing but a bully. Every time a halfway mature deer would get into a food plot, or so, he would run them off. He would just push them around, always fluffing up, side walking, pinning his ears back. He didn't like any of the other bucks. There was no way I was gonna let this 5-year-old 8-point push that multi-time buck away. So I decided I was gonna shoot a target buck, and it was gonna be Slick. He's a big, mature 5-year-old, and he's just lopsided. He doesn't have, you know, like he's got a long G2 on his right side, but his left side is a short one. And I passed him up 2 or 3 different times, you know, early season, hoping to get on a bigger buck. But it's been a rough season. It's stayed warm. Temperatures just have not really got down into the 30s, and it's now January 2nd. All the does leave. He's the only one standing there, and I'm like, you give me a shot, I am gonna dust your clock. And he finally turns around and he gives me a broadside shot. I didn't get very good penetration. I didn't know exactly where I hit him. That was Slick. We didn't know whether that was
going to pan out or not, but he finally come in, give me a 35-yard shot.
Huntsman's Great TV is proudly brought to you by the Huntsman's Foundation, inspiring disabled children to enjoy the great outdoors. Action Track Chair, we provide freedom, independence, and mobility. Tops Camo, quiet and durable camo for every situation. Hunter Safety System, Carlson's Choke Tubes, Sword Sights, Tree Limb Quivers, Afflictor Broadheads, and McCabe Outdoor Mobility. This segment of the Huntsman's Creed TV is brought to you by Sword Sights and Tree Limb Quivers.
Okay, folks, we're going to get ready to go look for this deer. Last night I reviewed the footage and we decided not to go in. What happened, it was actually a really good shot. The impact though, where the deer dropped and it kind of laid on its side. As it drops down, it turns away from the sound of the bow going off with the fear of maybe just getting one lung. I decided to back out, and I know it's a big deal. I've always had a problem with coyotes, and I mean, it's just one of the chances you take. I'd rather get him than bump him and not get him. Well, what a great ending. I'm glad we recovered him. This is a big old mature 5-year-old, a bully of a buck. You don't want this kind of buck in your area because he'll keep the better bucks pushed off that are younger. So this was a great management buck. I gave him a tag up to shoot him. He went right back to where he normally beds, which is right on this point. I've seen him there 3 other times, and I'm super happy to have him. And this year, we're done. It was then that I decided, okay, if I get another shot next year, I'm going to hold off and see if he becomes one of these stellar bucks. And it's a 1 in 1,000 that just blossoms into a big deer. I didn't pick up footage of him until it was about the 10th of November. It was into that second week. I was hunting just a little food plot. I had a cameraman with me, and he shows up, and he was a pig. And he comes into the bottom of the food plot, dogging a doe, and just rolls right on through. And I was like, oh God, that's a good sign. As long as that doe stays pretty close. Yeah, as long as she's there, he's gonna stay there. Right. Yeah. And next minute, here he comes. There's about 3 or 4 of them. He's right with them. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna get a crack at this buck. He was right there. He went above 25 yards. He just put his head down, he started sniffing around. I drew my bow back, and I said to my cameraman, I said, you good? He said, yep. I drew my bow back, and all of a sudden, it looked to me like he was about to not follow those. Yeah, he was on turn and go the other way.
God almighty. I can't believe I wasn't even on the deer when that bow went off. I was trying to adjust myself, and I just should have put the bow down and then adjusted myself and pulled it back up. I tried to move with the bow still on full draw, and it got away from me. And when it went forward like that, I tried to get it back, and I bumped the trigger. I shot 10 feet behind it. I wasn't even on the deer. When I practice, sometimes I'll pull my bow back, and I won't quite be right. So what I do is I'll put my elbow down on the actual chair, and I'll pivot myself like that while I'm still on full draw. Well, that's what I did. Yeah. It didn't work out. It didn't turn out very good, no. It's no good whining about it. It is what it is.
it's going to be a long year.
But the story of next year just continues on,
It
doesn't
just continues into the next year. I mean, man, I really hate even to talk about this.
Well, Mike, you just proved to everybody that being in a wheelchair is not going to stop you from getting out there and shooting some monster bucks.
Sure as heck ain't, buddy. Sure as heck ain't. Folks, 2019 is going to be an exciting year for the Huntsmans Foundation. We want you to make sure that you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and go to the website, because every week we post our show on the website as well.
That's right. Well, folks, we're out of time. I'm Tony.
And I'm Mike. We're wishing you the best of luck. And don't forget, take a kid hunting.
Closed captioning provided by the Huntsmans Foundation, helping to inspire and enable disabled Americans of all ages to return to the great outdoors.
Hi, folks. Welcome to this week's show. Tony?
Mike. Yeah, I want to break dance.
So that old buck ain't gonna run off and go,
That was Mike sitting there. He shot at me, wasn't it?
I think he just shot at me again. Again. Missed.
And again, and again.
Yeah, next year.